It's edgy too.
It's like a 2 second joke, and it's been an hour of process.
So starting January 1, the state of California will outlaw Skittles, hot tamales, and cinnamon bears. But don't worry, you can still get fentanyl. This is Epic Thoughts. You didn't know it was going that
I
way.
wouldn't have laughed at that part. I've been laughing for 18 minutes waiting for the punchline.
And the
you
punchline
went somewhere dark.
It went dark. Well, here's the thing. The jokes that we had were super, super dark. And I'm like, I don't know why we're going this deep on this joke.
What did I bring out in your presence that made you go dark?
I just have a list of them. And I'm like, that's too dark. But then we worked that one out. And I just said, and you get fentanyl. And they're like, wow. Yeah, on the spot. We made that up. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Epic Thoughts. I'm your host, Rohmon. I am so blessed. I'm so honored that you are here. Shout out to all the people who are supporting Heritage Park and Epic Thoughts worldwide. You guys are really awesome. So shout out to those who are watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and on HPTV. Man, you guys are killing the game, and I appreciate all you guys' support. And I also want to let you know that I appreciate all the emails, text messages, check-ins to make sure that everything is going smooth and that life is going well. And even have friends checking in to make sure that I'm alive in California. So we verified we're good. Today I have a very special guest. Met this man not too long ago, but I feel like a kinship with him already. He's like a brother to me. And today when we met, like we had this embrace, and I felt like, have you ever had the moment where you feel like you met a friend? Oh, no. It felt like when you're meeting somebody and you're like, I feel like I'm reconnecting to somebody that I haven't met yet.
Whoa.
It's like
familiar.
Familiar. And that's you. And this guy, man, we got so many projects that we're working on together. And this is just the beginning. You're going to hear a lot of cool things. And I don't know, really, just sit back and just enjoy the show. It's going to be a great show. But I'd like to introduce to you all for the first time, Mr. Colin Bird. Make some noise. Colin Bird, thank you for joining me today on Epic Thoughts.
That buzz is the best invitation I've ever gotten in my life. It's the best.
I should keep this around me more. Just click it on people.
I'm just gonna carry it around as a writer. Like when people don't laugh at my awesome jokes.
Yeah, like
I'm fine.
That was a great joke.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, when you do a joke like mine where it goes dark.
Yeah. It's
like
too soon.
Oh, yeah, man. Hey, if you're struggling with fentanyl, get some help. Man, so there's so much to cover. So let's start from the beginning. Okay. Let's actually start with, before we start in the beginning, let's start with you work in the industry. Colin works in the industry. Colin is a filmmaker, writer, producer. He's got so many projects that he's been on, that he's worked a part of, and now he's like us. He's venturing out on his own to make his own projects. But tell me how long you've been in the industry for?
Industry, I got here last week was the 20-year anniversary of my arrival. Incidentally, no, so that would have been 2 weeks. When was the day we had the call?
Mm-hmm.
Our first initial, we're going to go into partnership, GBI and HP.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the day that I realized that was the 20-year anniversary of me loading up the Jeep, driving across country, leaving, being a chaplain, leaving all the things that everyone leaves with a family, crying and hurting, and going off to Sin City.
Dang.
And that was the day that the producer Nadia had connected us from the Officiant, the TV series, and then we connected, and I kind of walked back in and said, okay, this is it. It's taken 20 years. But,
20 years.
Yeah, and a lot of those projects we kind of hit. It's 20 years of work. 20, well, you go in, you give it everything you got, and it just doesn't work sometimes. And I've seen the route. I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by so many good people, so many people of light and love like yourself, man. Mm-hmm. That's why we gravitate toward each other immediately, because we've been through it, right? And you know what that town can do to people. You know what a drive can do to people when they're so. It becomes not the pure passion; it becomes desperation, and your identity is in it. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to have this job, or I have to, be known for this thing, or otherwise I'm nothing. that's a scary cesspool to be around. So,
Yeah.
When I drove straight into it,
Yeah.
stayed in circles of that cess for 20 years.
20 years. So he wanted me to make sure I let you know he's from Detroit. So he's from Detroit.
I think the coolness is implied, right?
Yeah, he's from Detroit. So he's got street cred because he's from Detroit.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
I got born there. I took that little bit of cred
and just went with it. That's awesome. So but when you were a chaplain, were you in Detroit at that time?
I was born in Michigan, so I got the roots, I got the blood. Right?
Okay.
My mom went to high school at Magic Johnson, Everett High School.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
That's pretty cool.
And she was a starting center when she was a senior, I think, and then he was a freshman coming in.
That's
so they
dope.
shared the same court, right?
That's cool.
Right on. So my dad, we were working with Ford, all those things that you do in Michigan, and then he took church, the calling.
Wow.
A small church in Illinois. They and I don't remember how the whole thing got set up. I was a little infant, but the first little town we were in, West Union, was 400 people.
Mm-hmm.
There was a church and a few houses, and then our house. Half my dad's salary and my mom's salary was they would, during the hunting season, they'd go out and get the food, and then we had a giant freezer, and so the freezer was always stocked with food. That's how they paid the pastor.
Wow.
Half of it, yeah. And then small towns, and my dad was he was it, dude. He's like, honestly, a lot like you. Now, the first time that we connected, I'd see that with him, with everybody. Because he had the spirit in him, but more importantly, he focused on what other people's passions were. And so he got me, I'm his son. I look like him, I act like him, I got his heart, and I got my mama's fire. So that comes into play.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How about you though? You same thing?
No. I don't know where I got. My mom is a people person. My mom doesn't know any strangers. So I think I got that side from her. My dad, I make this joke. My dad passed in 2020, but I make this joke saying, some people come from money. I come from, like, some people get like I inherited wealth, or I inherited this business. I inherited the work ethic. So my dad was the hard worker. And then when you would talk to, he was a boxer. He was a heavyweight boxer. Yeah. Fought George Foreman.
What? Your dad fought George Foreman?
Yeah. In like an exhibition match in Oakland. My dad grew up in Oakland.
How do you do?
Oh, he lost. He lost. Yeah. He tells me stories all the time. He was like, man, he said, that dude hits so hard. And my dad thought he had a future as a heavyweight boxer. And then he met George Foreman. And he was part of some kind of like determining factor. They were picking out opponents for Muhammad Ali. And so my dad was one of those people. So that's how I guess him and George got into it. And so they were training with each other, and they went to an exhibition. And my dad was like, he hit me so hard. It was like somebody hit me with a sledgehammer. It was painful, but he lost. And then a couple months later, Foreman loses to Ali. And that was like my dad's sign of like, you know what, I'm done.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, if Ali beat Foreman like that and Foreman beat me, I have no shot at this thing.
How do you see that, like, in the entertainment industry? We'll call it Hollywood just because that's what it's always been, for lack of a better term. But, I mean, how do you see that in relative terms from getting hit by the hardest hit in the ring? I like Evander Holyfield's brother said that he would prep Evander for every fight. And he'd say the same thing to him. So the only way out of that ring is through the opponent's fists. How does that parallel into the industry world where you get there and, my goodness, is there any other field in the world, maybe DC? I don't want to go anywhere near that.
Politics,
but, yeah, man. But like, is there any other industry in the world that just the moment you get there, you just get kicked in the face? You get
I don't think so. And I think the way to manage it, right? So let's keep the boxing metaphor. I saw an interview with Stephen A. Smith did an interview with Floyd Mayweather right before he fought Conor McGregor. And Floyd was sharing how the fight's going to go round to round. This is before the fight came out. And he was like, this round he's going to do this to me, and I'm going to respond with this, and then I'm going to do this. Then in round 3 I'm going to do this, and then around 4 he's going to get excited because he's been in this thing for 4 rounds. So then he's going to try to knock me out in the 4th round. So I'm going to dodge him, and I'm going to dodge him to the 5th and the 6th. He goes, he does not know how to fight past the 7th round. His legs are going to give out because he is a UFC fighter. Their fights last 15 minutes. 7th round, you're fighting for 21 minutes. So his feet are going to get tired, and he's going to wobble. He's going to lean on me, and he doesn't know. In UFC, you can grab people, but in boxing, you have to work this middle section. So I'm going to get in him, and I'm going to make him push me, and that's going to take a lot out of him. And by the 8th round, I'll finish him. And Stephen A. Smith said, "That's pretty. You're pretty confident about that." He goes, "This is what I do." And somebody spliced this video of him talking each round, and they played the video.
No,
and it was exactly how he said it. It was exactly how he said it, and you could see everything he said his opponent was going to do. And it shows with him knowing himself and then knowing his opponent. So I think when it comes into the industry, I think where people get messed up is they come in with an expectation without knowing their opponent. And so I tell people all the time, because I work with a lot of people who just come in and they just want to get in acting, and they want to be, all this stuff. So I always ask the question, like, do you want to be a celebrity or do you want to be an actor? Because those are 2 different things.
And the world knows that now with all the
different I was like, there's working actors who do okay, and they're just working actors, and they're celebrities. So if you're coming into this thing thinking you're going to become a celebrity, you're going to get punched in the face. But if you're becoming an actor, you know what to expect. You know that people are going to try to take advantage of you early. So you know how to dodge these things. You start to learn who's full of it and who's not, who's got a game plan, and you just prepare yourself. Like for me, one of the things I had to prepare myself is working with a lot of indie projects. You're not going to see the light of day. Like I've been on indie projects. I wonder what happened to that film where I was Batman's second cousin rerun. You know what I'm saying? Like, did that film ever do anything?
You start hoping it
did. Then as you get going, like, I hope that film doesn't come out. And so I think one of the things that people like about Heritage Park is from people get here and they go, is this going to see anything? Am I going to do superficially deep and never see it again? Yeah. And then I remember getting a phone call from one of the people who were acting, and they were like, dude, you actually released it. I said, yeah, what'd you think? And they were like, I'd never been on something that got released. You know what I'm saying? So I think to answer your question, you have to come in it with a game plan. What are you going to do? But part of your game plan in boxing, you have to know your opponent's game plan. And the only way you know that is studying them. Watching film doesn't mean you study them. Watching somebody's movie doesn't mean you study the industry. So like one of my small little gigs that I got to be part of, I got to be on the writing team for a film back in 2012. And I just saw it as an opportunity to learn.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to be on the writing team, and I thought that was cool. And the producer came in the room, and it was 3 producers, and I knew this was going to be interesting, to say the least. It was going to be interesting. So I come into the writing room. I'm excited, like, because I knew the title. So it was off of somebody's IP.
Okay.
So I was like, I know the IP, and I was like, I know this IP. I grew up with this IP.
Oh,
so I come in the game, and I have ideas in my head, and I know I'm just the newbie, so I'm not gonna be able to share a lot of my ideas. And so I come in the room, and the producers walk in, with Nerf guns, and I'm like, why are they coming in with Nerf guns? And they're just shooting them over our heads, just like, yeah, we're gonna make this movie, doosh, doosh. And then they're like just having a fun time.
Wow.
And then after doing my research, I knew one of the producers, not personally, I just knew him by name. And I knew that he makes horror films. So in my mind, I'm thinking, why are you producing this IP that's based off a cartoon? And so I'm knowing my opponent. And so they're telling me this is what we're gonna do, and this is how we're gonna do it, and yada yada yada. And just in the pitch, everyone's getting all excited. I'm doing this because I'm like, no, that doesn't work with this IP. And I had all these questions like, what about the woman who owns this IP? Is she part of this project? Because she never showed up in the room, and found out later she still owns the rights to the IP.
Oh, no.
So she was very upset about the project.
How much have they invested in this at this
point? At this point, they're a couple million in, and they had this idea that I thought was a unique idea. They wanted all the actors to be influencers. When this is 2012 too, so make of it what you will. So, but they wanted the actresses and the actors to be influencers. So they wanted following because they're trying to make a film using social media. So that's how I got in the door.
Oh, cool. Man.
So I was like, well, it's experience. So instead of sitting here thinking my ideas are going to come to light and I'm going to be a star on this thing, I'm like, I'm going to learn here. I may take some bruising, but I'm prepped for bruising because everything that you go through in life preps you for bruising. Like we've all had those hard hits. So I'm prepped for this. And I'll tell you what, it wasn't the worst experience I've ever had, but from a business position, and I could tell the company, the production company, the studio behind it was really flawed in some ideas. And I think that at the end of the day, they thought they were getting a different project than what the project ended up being.
It's never happened in the history.
Right. So they didn't get the project they wanted. The woman who owned the IP, she didn't get her vision come to life. And then they were so full of themselves. I think the whole project got punched in the face because they were like, we're going to release it on this date. And I was like, that's cool. We can release on date. And when you get release dates, you see what everybody else is releasing. And that's a part of your choice. Mm-hmm. So they're releasing it and we're going up against, at first we're supposed to go up against Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And in my head, I was like, I'm going to see Scott Pilgrim because that looks amazing.
Better than what we did.
Yeah. I saw that trailer and I was like, that looks amazing. I'm going to see.
Free,
yeah. But I'm doing it for free, but I'm going to pay to see Scott Pilgrim at Man's Chinese Theater because that looks amazing. Yeah. So it sounded like it was a great night. It was great. I went. But they ended up moving our premiere. They moved our date. They were like, no, you know what? We're going to go up against the Expendables. The original.
2012.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the original.
The original. Yeah. The first one. And I'm like, yeah, you probably should have stayed going up against Scott Pilgrim. Yeah. But it stayed in theaters 10 days. It's got the record of the shortest run in the theater.
You have a record?
Yeah.
Good job, man.
Yeah. I'm in the record books. They pulled it after 10 days. We went from like 1,500 theaters to 88 in 10 days. Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh because there's families. We talked about the pride thing that people like I feel like everyone needs their mulligan. Like,
mm-hmm.
Give us all a film.
Yes.
Like even if it's a small one, that we go in, it's all financed, and we can just kind of shoot our shot. Like, we are great. I'm driving this car. And, this is all about me. And all that, and get all that out of your system,
mm-hmm.
and then go do the real work because it's never. If it's about you, it fails.
It fails.
It's got to be about other people.
Yes.
If you're not seeing the audience, what are you doing, man?
That's what I learned. And that's one of the first lessons. I'm like, I know it was a female IP, so it was for girls. So I grew up in the house with all girls, nice. All sisters.
You learned a lot, man.
Yeah. So that's how I'm familiar with it because my sisters would move me out the way and be like, yo, this show's on. And I would sit there and watch the show because it came on after Transformers. So we had this whole little thing. Oh, cool. And so I knew these characters. And so, I did kind of like tell my female friends, like, yo, this is the movie I'm working on. They're like, what? There's a movie for that? And then
10 days.
10 days. Yeah, 10 days to see it. And it just went into the darkness of film, of cinema. But yeah, the whole time I kept thinking to myself when I would read some of the scripts and some of the ideas and get to read the script and being part of the writer's room, I would just sit there and be like, the audience isn't gonna like this. Like the people don't like this. There's no connection here. And then when we went to the final, several rewrites, and I couldn't tell you what they were looking for, because none of my ideas made it to the final. So I don't know what they were looking for. I even to this day, when I saw the script and I read the final script, I was like, I'm not quite sure what we're doing here. Yeah. But it wasn't for people. It wasn't for the people. So, and I do believe there were some bad situations on set too, but I was a writer, so.
Right. It does come down to, it's always going to be pride and ego.
Mm-hmm.
the first boxing lesson I took was 20 years ago,
Mhm.
and I landed in Illinois and was still wearing a chaplain suit.
Oh, wow.
For 6 months, and people are like, you gotta look. You're in LA. Do you understand this?
Mhm.
And I just knew who I was and what I was kind of holding on to. But the first day of film school, there's 63 of us from all over the country, all over the world, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, Paris and Nova Scotia. Where's everyone from? Tell me your stories, because I got a story. Heck, I just had one getting here, and I know there's 62 other people in this room that got an epic story about why, not just what they did to get here. Why are you here? Why are you here? Oh man, all those stories. I'm so excited. We're all there. We're rough, strong. So we're taking on the world. You're with the people.
Yeah.
63 of you from all over the world, and you're doing it. You're doing the thing that
you're passionate about.
Yes, man.
Dreamt about your whole life.
You have to, because there's no plan B. It's just this thing.
Yes.
You got to figure out your why, and then it becomes real. I got the opportunity to figure out my why after a billion fails.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember that first day. It was 8 professors. And they all came in this giant movie theater. Right? It was our first day of class. It's pretty cool. It's freezing cold, sitting in there, and they all came in. And I used to say it was all 8, but I think it was 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
That said, first thing. You want to guess what the first thing they told us was? This group of young starry-eyed heroes.
Probably one of those. Look at your left and right. Half these people won't be here.
Oh yeah, they went right for it.
Yeah.
They went George Foreman right to the nose. And they said, "None of you will ever make it."
Wow.
Zero bitterness, zero nothing. It's all good, man. It was just the experience. I praise God. I got that. I got what? Come on.
You can't tell me that.
What are you making? What are you talking about? It wasn't competition. It wasn't anger. It was just like, I just drove here and almost flew over the Mississippi River in my Jeep because I was crying, because I just left my mom, who was crying and saying, your dad's gone, and if you leave, you're never going to see me again. I'm going to die. She did. Wow. And I driving across St. Louis, and I was born near Detroit, but I was raised in Illinois, so I was a Cubs fan. Rain was coming down, so I was crying. Everything in my Jeep, I'd loaded up, and I can't even see the rearview mirror. I could only see in front of me, but I couldn't even see that because it was pouring down rain. I'm going over the Mississippi River, and I'm crossing the bridge, and a semi swerves, comes at me, and I think, oh, I'm going to literally go over there. And I could see Busch Stadium. Wow. And I saw all my friends that were such jerks to me about the Cubs and Cardinals growing up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am not dying in St. Louis. So I wiped my eyes, and I said, Mom, I love you. Dude, this was hard, man. I was like, Mom, I love you. And I only left. It's been hour and a half on the road. Still in my chaplain suit, and I was half wet because I'd stayed in the back of her little house after Dad had passed. And I went that night, and all my stuff was in the garage. I was only taking what I had, and never saw any of that stuff. But I stood in the doorway, and she sat in her chair and held her arms out, right? And she was going to be left alone. I had 2 other brothers, and they have families, and we're the artists, so we're the ones who are just free to. And they're not really doing anything. So we can stick around. Yeah. And I want to, man. I can see my mom again. I think she's my mom's leading some things in eternity right now. She's trailblazing the way she did on earth. First ordained minister, as far as I know, you can Google it, outside of Chicago. Wow. First woman ordained minister. So you can't be ordained. It doesn't matter what the legal things, what this or that. You're preventing me from doing this work that could lead other people into eternity. Get out of my way. Yeah. I got a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I'm dry. She's sad. She's losing everything. And so I'm standing in the doorway. Still have the chaplain outfit on. Preach my last. And it's pouring down rain. So I'm half drenched here. I'm half dry here. All wet in the eyes. I'm looking at Mom saying, please don't leave. You'll never see me. So I said, Mom, I love you. I could feel, I'm telling you, I know we're artists. We see things maybe a little more pizzazz than some people do, but I'm telling you, it was real. I couldn't see the window. I couldn't see my eye, but I could see my mom sitting there hearing these words. I love you. I mean, from my soul. And I'm so grateful. But that's it. That's the last time I'm crying for you. Wow. And I stood in the doorway and I said, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. I've got to go make my movies now. That was a half hour being half drenched. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Mom. Got to go make my movies now. So she dies. And we're in Michigan by the old farmhouse and the graveyards down the East Henderson, the gravel road, and outside of Owasso, Michigan. And Mom and Dad's grave are there. And the rest of the birds. And that was Thanksgiving. So on Wednesday night, I did the eulogy. Thursday we have Thanksgiving. That was a fun day.
Mhm.
Friday.
Wait. You did the eulogy on Wednesday, and Thursday was Thanksgiving.
So
Oh,
we watched the
man.
Lions beat the Bears. It was great. I was the only that and the food.
Mhm.
And then Friday we did the burial. So I walked down with my nieces and family, and we walked down. And I remember my youngest niece and I were pouring the dirt into the hole as she had been cremated, and I didn't know. So if anyone's ever gone through grief, as we all have,
Mhm.
yeah, that's something you want to know. You don't want to hear about your mom,
Yeah.
So that was it. So it was a brutal day, but I'm just looking at the beauty of my niece. And she just and we all had Hershey's chocolate bars for some reason. And I guess it was my mom's favorite, and I just kind of blocked it out. But I gave it to her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gobbling this down." And I took the last of the dirt in there, and then I put my face down on it, and everyone left. I just stayed there with her, and I got up, and I looked at the grave, Dad and Mom, and I said the same thing to her that I had said that day when I left for Hollywood, except I removed one part of that phraseology. I was in the house and said, "Sorry, Mom, I got to go make my movies now." And you know what part I cut out? I'm not sorry.
No, sorry.
Sorry. Now I'm going back to making movies, and I'm not sorry, because I have the same drive you instilled in me to get out of my way. The whole world is going to see these films. They're going to see these TV shows. It's 20 years in the making, and knowing what we know because we see the audience. Get out of the way, because even if people don't agree to believe or want to believe in what we believe, where ultimately where our souls go, that's fine. I mean, it is what it is, man. But what really matters is when they're in the seats in that audience, and they're connecting, and their families are healing, and people are being united through all that. So get out of the way, because this purpose matters. Even if it's only on earth, it still helps people. How dare we get in the way of that?
Yeah.
And she didn't mean to. She didn't want to. It's the human condition, and that's what the TV show is all about. It's actually the origin of it, how this originated. Because I realized in that moment, I was just saying to her, "Mom, I got to go. I'm sorry, I got to go." She was crying. I said, "This is it," because I'd seen it in the nursing home, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm reliving when I was there fighting for these people as they passed." And what I recognized was that the grief, if you allow it, will destroy you. But loneliness, if you allow it, will destroy everyone around you. Praise God, I got out of that circle. The person I love the most in the world, I got out of that circle. She's in eternity, and I obviously helping, because now things are starting to roll after 30 years of dreaming, 20 years of work. Here we go.
And here we are. So for those of you who we're here, so let's talk about it. So one of the connections that we have, Heritage Park is, for those of you guys who know, we're all over the place. We're everywhere.
Emotionally?
No. Just like you can find Heritage Park something. There's a Heritage Park. We have clothing line. We have radio. We have publishing. We just everything. But many of you are watching us on HPTV. We are connecting. He's got a series, that's amazing series called The Officiant. And I'm gonna have him share a little bit more about it. But we are doing a launch to do several things. One, we want to create buzz. And I think you're going to be able to help us with creating buzz, because a lot of people are like, well, what can I do to help? You can create buzz. Share. In the next couple of weeks throughout the holiday season, you'll see some videos on our social media platforms and things of that nature talking about the show. But then on December 26th, we're going to launch a full out campaign connecting the Officiant with Heritage Park, and we're joining forces to make this thing happen. And this is just the first of many. So the show is called The Officiant. Share a little bit about the show real quick, because we talked about it. You glanced a little bit over it when I was like, see, that's why I was saying you before, like, man, if we just have organic, you'll give me context. So now, from the story that you just told, that I've never heard about your parents and all that stuff in that journey. Now I'm like, dude, that's massive context for the show. So let's talk to me about the show.
But you bring it out. You have a gift. You have many gifts.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
I guarantee anyone sitting in this chair is just going to share as much as they can.
I appreciate
But the cool thing about that is there's something about you and the setting that it always brings it back. I always say in every single movie, because we show some scary stuff, we show some hard stuff. I always say every down's up. No matter what happens, you bring the audience back up. They deserve that.
Yeah.
Right. And you have that way. It's naturally, no matter what is discussed, it's going to come up. And I hope the audience, I hope you're following, and I hope they're all just super jazzed every time they hear this and go away feeling.
Yes.
So I hope that's what we do too. And that's what the Officiant's going to do for people, and as many things based on pain, but also so much joy. Is so I was a chaplain in a nursing home, and that's a brotherhood. I see a chaplain around, I'm like, get over your brother.
Yeah.
Because we know. And it's funny because you'll run into a chaplain. I was a couple weeks ago, same day. Same day we had our
Oh, the same day we talked.
Same day.
Okay.
Took a little heart hurt. And then I bumped into a chaplain randomly. God said, there are very few of us running around. We know how to deal, right?
Yeah.
So we're just getting introduced, basically, the second time we talked. And he just pulls me aside. He's fireman chaplain. I'm nursing home chaplain.
Okay.
He pulls me aside and says, what's up? You're off. So just this little sting, the sting? Heartache and toothache. The only two things I've ever questioned a loving God over.
Those are the worst. I know about some toothaches too.
I'd rather talk about that than the other one. So, and it all got cleared up, and everything is wonderful now. But in that moment, it was pain.
Yeah.
And it was all in my head. Turned out to be not what I thought it was. And the chaplain grabs me and says, get it back in line. That wouldn't let me get into any details. Just grabs me and prays for me. And there's a strength there. That strength, he saw things I never saw as a fireman chaplain. I can't remember, but same thing. I'm going into the fire. So I created this thing in the nursing home. It's called a 5-foot rule. I go into the room, step into the fire with them. And what am I going to do? I'm not a medical person. I haven't read every medical journal, most of them. But I'm joking. That was none. So
I was like, man, he's smart.
Cut that part out. Let's let people do that. Man, I'm not going to give them anything that they need for their body, except I'm going to touch their soul. Because they do that for me. It's not like I'm going to go in and you remove the word I, you go in just like with this, you remove the word I. And then you go in and it's, you get to be, it's like this little snow globe, right? And it's their world. And the setting isn't great. These people that have been in their 90s, So 9.5 times out of 10 when someone's in the nursing homes because they just lost their spouse. So, and then the family, outside out of mind, but people need a breather. I get it, man. And I've gotten the honor of conducting 23 funerals, maybe even more at this point. But and in that, you're working with people who are grieving and hurting, but they've going through a lot, especially if they've lost one parent and then they got to caretake the other parent. That's tough stuff.
That's a tough job.
Yeah, and then but then they put it in like, I just need a breather. I know I've been there. I'm like, man, I just need a day, right? But then in that day, you can't carry this baggage that it turns into bad things and it affects your art. I know firsthand.
Yeah.
But you got these people who are sitting in this little room and all the inheritance is being sucked away by the cost, and the administrations can be bad news bears in any corporation. But especially I noticed the similarities between the nursing home and working at a studio. And so I went from one to film school into the studio and started seeing all the similarities. I'm walking around behind these giant walls that, as it called, I think I mentioned it to you once, the how dare you walls. How dare you try to get in here?
Yeah.
Right? And then I'd see like all of these people. Oh, Bird, you're working at the studio. Here, take the script. Like, that's not really how this is going to work at all.
Yeah.
I want to keep my job.
Yeah.
But it was like, it shouldn't be though. There should be a world, and that's what GBI is. Global Bird Industries, God Before I, the company that's producing this, that's going to join partners. It is joining partners with you. And it's saying, no, it's all inclusive. There's art. And when art collides, when it comes together, it changes things. And if you've got a positive spirit behind it and you have a foundation of what you believe and why you're doing this, man, the world changes. And even if it's a world of one person. So how dare you stand at the studio gates and say, out of fear, because no one's saying this from truth. They're saying out of fear.
Oh, fear.
Get out. Don't care. I made it. You didn't. Okay. And the nicest people in the world, but they've made it to this one little place, this one little town that is this fortified interest you can't get into, and they're there and they're terrified, so they're going to keep it. We were talking earlier. You said you'd heard this phrase: "Be careful who you're dealing with. You don't know who you're going to catch on their way up as you're on the way down."
Yes,
they're planning for their way down.
Yeah.
That's the structure of this. So it's nerve-wracking, and no one's ever going to make it. And those 6 instructors, none of you will ever make it. 2 of them said, if you do end up stumbling into making a movie, make sure the sound is good. Right?
I've heard that so many times too.
It was true, man.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I started doing. I started making all these films, and I was watching people make their little films.
Yes.
And with the it was fascinating. It was cool. Different stories. I'm like, all right, now we're getting to it. Show me your story. You can't sit in the lunchroom and talk to me, but you can tell me on film. I love you. Let's get your story out, baby, because you're special, man.
Yeah.
You got something in you. And then I started noticing how much they sucked because the sound was bad.
Sound was bad.
So
I've gone through that too. I made bad projects with bad
no.
sound too.
Isn't that the worst?
It's the worst.
You gotta look at it. It's like, oh, this looks good, and they gave everything they had.
Yeah. Oh man. Even Rice is laughing because he's from first-hand experience. He's been on projects with me. Like, man, that sound was horrible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all of those professors are George Foreman and they said none of you will ever make it. Get out of the way because we're going to. But what happened in that moment, man? I looked around that entire theater.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I know there's 63. I think one of them bailed the first day, right?
Yeah.
Like during orientation.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe we're down to 62. Whatever, doesn't matter because there's going to be 4 or 5 of us. In that moment, there's 4 or 5 of us. Who are they? Where are they in this room? There's 4 or 5 roughnecks. There's some Detroit blood in here. We're going to fight through this because we just did. We all almost fell over the bridge, right? And we're here. Don't tell us we're not going to make it. Show us. If you have anything, show us. We're hungry, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing here in the studio with people. That's what every single project that we have out is saying, you look, we did it.
Yes. You can do it too.
It's just that easy. Just go through hell.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. One step at a time, right? Live moment to moment with Christ so you don't have to do. And I wish I had that. I don't know exactly the full scope of your audience. I know it's vast. And I know it's intelligent, so I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to believe. But I was going to say about the characters that we have in the film.
Yeah.
They all say straight up. You don't have to believe what we believe. But you better believe we believe it, man.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe what I believe, but you better believe that I believe it.
Yep. And that every decision is going to be based on that. And so if you look at the nursing home and you have, I believe there's injustice happening to that person. Let me be with them. It would just, the culmination of things, knowing what I saw with my own mom, and that was after, and I'll get to how the TV show got made from that, showing what I saw with that after seeing it with other families. So what you and I always talk about, training ground. This sucks right now. That's training ground for the next thing. No one wants to go through training ground. We just want it to be simple, but that ain't it. So get it together. It's real. Be cool, right? So just go in and do the thing. But I would go into these rooms with these people that had been completely disbanded, just sitting there alone, and usually not because people are malicious, although some administration people can be. It's amazing how a human being can overlook someone who's forlorn.
I've always noticed that too. It's disturbing.
So I got to be in a place where I got to kick down some doors, and I did it. I was going to Hollywood anyway. So, but I wasn't that reckless. I didn't go rogue. I just care because you're supposed to. I saw my dad care. I saw my mom fight for people.
Yeah.
So these people, 90s, almost gone, just sitting there, that a whole life where they nourish people. Think about all those Thanksgivings where they're all nourishing people. And then they're sitting there alone.
Yeah.
And then they get sick. So they get quarantined. Now, this is state law. This isn't any one nursing home being potato heads. But they'd have to put what looks like police line up. Right?
The caution tape.
Yeah. You ever get you open the box and present, you get that bubble wrap?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the best. Where's the tape at today? And then I get all my mom's fury and I kicked over and I ripped that stuff down. What are you doing? And I would do that outside the door, and then I'd walk in and hold on them and love them. You can't touch them because they're so whatever. But it was the 5-foot rule. I'd go from that fire right out and take 5 feet. I measured it. All the rooms were 5 feet apart. Take a breath. Think about whatever my little heart or toothache, whatever my foreman was. Doesn't matter because my neck, I have about 2 feet, and then I'm into the next 5.
Next way.
So I saw all those things. I got asked to write a book. It's called Death, What Not to Say. And you can find it on gbi60.com, or there'll be a link from there. Death, What Not to Say, how to confidently approach grieving people, all the things not to say and do. You probably guess how I learned how not to say the wrong things. By saying the wrong thing. All the time. Call a person by the wrong name in the final prayer around their family.
Oh, no.
That's small. That's really small because that's an accident. You get to have zero tolerance for some things in life. And not caring, not respecting a person's moment. Zero tolerance. Any moment, but especially that final one. And I messed it up because I was young and my head was in different places. You know?
Mhm.
So just scared, honestly. But
Oh.
I saw the beauty. I would see the way. Forgive me for saying this, but I would see the way, specifically elderly. Well, I'll say Oscar. This isn't his name. I would notice elderly African American
Mm.
men and women, but mostly men. When I would shake their hand in the nursing home, when you go to a nursing home, anyone listening, put your hand in front of the heater. I don't care if it's 110.
Yes.
Put your hand in front of the heater. Don't shake their hand. You're gonna jolt them.
Mm.
So my hand was always warm because it would jolt them.
Mhm.
Oh, your hands are cold. So I'd walk up and I'd shake their hand and I'd wait, and they would jolt. I'd go, my hands are warm. I've never shared this with, I don't think, and maybe my father. I don't think I did. No, because he was passed before I started the nursing home. Maybe my mother. I feel like I shared, but I'm going to just say it. I would take their hand and they would jolt. I remember this one, Oscar, just my hand shaking thinking about it. He just look at me and say, you're going to lead millions of people.
Mm.
You're going to lead millions of people. There was a confidence in the way they spoke. So I haven't also read every mathematical journal, but I did the math on this one. And I thought, there's a whole culture, a whole race
Mhm.
that knows hardship in a way that I'll never know, especially that generation. You're looking at early 2000s in the 90s. So imagine.
Yeah.
So I got to take that along with the Officiant and the two projects that are coming out at the same time now that GBI is aligned with HP.
Yes.
I could just say that like 100 times in a row.
Yes.
It's so cool, man.
It sounds cool.
It is so cool.
I'm like, this is official, man.
Yeah, the
I love
Officiant
it.
is official.
Yes.
So with that, there's a separate movie that's
Yeah.
coming out at the same time. They're all being delivered at the same time, and it's a major motion picture, and I've been working on it for over a year, just getting pre-produced, and we're about to rock it out. And that deals with that same topic of what I talked about, with a different race than I understand, that different pain than I understand. So I get to spend a year working with my friends who've been there, and we're putting this thing together. And what it's doing is the exact same the Officiant's going to do. Wrote the book about what not to say, all those things, and that's the heart condition.
Mm.
But that was the training ground that opened me up to see the other things,
Wow.
things that the other people weren't seeing. I started watching the residents' eyes and seeing that they were seeing something else.
Mhm.
Man, what an honor, what a gift. And kind of like the first time someone popped up and told me my dad's name,
Mhm.
he'd been passed. They'll see you soon. Okay, so you're in a room, you're a new chaplain, you sit down, this is your assignment. You sit down with them, talk with them, and they're on their way out. And your job is to be the last person in the room.
Mhm.
And be there with them when they pass. You're probably going to see some things.
Yeah.
So if you're in the room and someone is in the bed and they pop up and they say your dad's name.
Oh,
Which, by the way, when you were mentioning that, what is your father's name?
Stan.
Stan.
Mhm.
Stan did well, man.
Yeah.
So they say, Stan, well, you're gonna see him soon.
Mhm.
Okay. Are you talking about eternity?
Yeah.
Here's what I did. I don't know what you did. I walked really slow down the hallway, looking at all the chandeliers. I drove about 5 miles home on the interstate that day.
Where am I to see him?
How soon?
Am I supposed to see him?
Uh-huh. But then I started thinking, man, she's got something else. She's going through pain I don't know.
Yes.
And she has this other realm that she's getting to connect with right now. And from what I knew of the people, they're all sweet, wonderful, one of the best things in the world from me. But when they started to go,
Mhm.
and their final season started to shift into eternity, their same spirit was there, the same soul was there, but the human body takes on different forms, called the shell. They start going into, and they start seeing these things and sharing them with me. And I said, okay, so they have this strength, and then there's a power around them, and we're all connected to the same thing. So you could tell me about any spirituality, any religion, anything in the world. I'm going to tell you what I saw, and I saw what I saw, and I saw them seeing other things.
Yeah.
And I got to experience that and converse with them. And they were the ones going through pain, giving me peace.
Wow.
You talked about your children,
Mhm.
and they go in the hospital and they're way tougher than you are.
Yeah. Tougher than me.
Over there.
Yeah.
Sappy bear.
Mhm. Not wanting to eat.
No. I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
So I'd see that. And then I thought, okay, there's definitely a supernatural world. I believed it anyway.
Mm.
Now I'm here. How do I take that with grace? Because it's a gift. But how do I take that and also be delicate with these things because I'm not trying to preach to anyone. I'm just saying this is what I saw. You see things move. You see things move, right?
Yeah.
So, but why? What does that even matter? People get interested in the spooky stuff and that kind of stuff. I get it. That's why I didn't touch on it in the book much. And that book was asked to be turned into a TV show. So it was in Canada 5 years ago. I was working on another movie, a New York Times bestseller. I've been on for 10 years. It's an ultimate book about running. And we just could not get it made. But my identity was in that. I got this big project. I got this. What I'm going to tell you, I'm safe. I'm fine in Hollywood because I got this thing. 10 years of fail. Got nothing. And we're trying to get it made. And I was up in Canada and I got a call. I'll be real brief about this. The person was my father's mentor, and he came. He looked like Colonel Sanders. Remember that guy?
Yes.
Okay, exactly. So just for reference. So his name is Dr. Bruce Parmer, and he was the one who helped me write the book. My mom actually helped me put that together too. It was really cool. But he was the reason I became a chaplain, and he guided me, let's say, through my own hell after my parents' death. And so I'm up in Canada trying to get this movie made. I just tanked another movie back in my hometown. That was a lot of fun. And just nothing is going. I don't understand. I'm giving everything I got, every year after year after year. So I'm up there and I'm just broke, and I'm living off everyone else's, like, not their goodwill, but their belief and production. And I just had to drive back to LA. Everything is tanked again. And I stopped. There's a place called Kanab, Utah. So a couple of the films we're doing are there. So check it out because I think you will love it.
Kanab, is that by Sundance?
No, it's I love it because it's the opposite of Sundance.
Is it?
Yeah. John Wayne, Frank Sinatra, they used to go out
there
and they built like little hotels and built bars.
It is the opposite, it's pretty cool. Because Sundance is pretty glitzy now.
Yeah.
But okay.
So I go and I stop at this place, and I love it because it has these red rock canyons. I can just go conquer those canyons, just stop no matter what's going on, just go run. But you got to forget that the topography changes on red rock. So it moves. When I was there last year, it's different. So anyway, I'm running up this thing, and I just gotten the call that Dr. Parmer had passed away. I was a humor columnist in a newspaper back in Illinois. I think I was the only one that thought I was funny. So it didn't last. But they called me and said, hey, he passed, and he's an institution here. Would you write a 2,000-word article on him? And I did. And I was just thinking about, man, he set me off on this journey. It's turned into a book. It's supposed to be in this TV show. When I was in Canada, I got picked up. The show got picked up. And then they took it, and they were going to do their own thing with it. And I'm like, guys, no, there's truth behind what we're doing. You're looking at it from a cookie cutter perspective. And I just can't. Because you're going to lose the message, right?
Yeah.
So I got to hold on to this thing because there's going to be that one kid out there that's hurting or whatever. And they're going to connect with this. So I'm up there running. I was just like, I don't want to go back to failure. I got, and I realized I'm lost. And I've been up there 3.5 hours. I hadn't eaten anything. And just it's starting to see the sun go down. I've been on a few mountain adventure runs where I was like, okay, I better find a cave. Idiot, got lost again. But something happened. I started praying. I got to the top, and I asked my mom to shake the tree loose. I was laying under a tree, and I said, I don't even know what that means, Mom, but shake the tree loose. Now, I fully believe we connect with Christ, have a conversation with the Holy Spirit. They take it to God, have a conversation with God. Don't talk to the people that are there, as far as asking for things.
Yes.
I can go, that's a dangerous road.
Yeah.
But I'm asking Mom, come on, Mom, I'm just bypassing God. You're my mom. Help me, man. There's been a lot of hurt. Help me. Shake the tree loose. I don't know if it's money, if it's a thing, if it's whatever. Just get me out of this. I got up. I felt peace. And I ran. And I've been running. I lost about 300 pounds through running.
Wow.
Been getting to do some crazy fun adventure runs across the world. It's been a lot of fun. Broke in the Empire State Building one time. I'll tell you about that story. It's really cool. But then I'm out there and I'm running down, trying to find out where I'm going to go. If you ever see a deer on a hill, don't follow them. Those are liars. You think they're going to take, water and life. No, they're horrible creatures. Sorry. And I finally find my footprints, and they're taking me in the wrong direction. I find this little path, and then I hear this guy coming up. I'm like, oh my gosh, human! I'm saved. So dramatic. He comes up and he looks exactly like Dr. Parmer, Colonel Sanders.
Wow.
Exactly. And I had to reach out and touch him. And I just written the article about him and the path. And he said, are you okay? Do you need food? He was offering to feed me.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I know I'm acting over dramatic, but I've really only been up there 3.5 hours. So what do I look like? And he said, just said these one words to me. You're on the right path.
Wow.
Right there. And then I saw my footprints going down. Oh, I was on the right path. Right before that, I had been running and I slipped. And I've only fallen a few times in my, I know it's weird. Like Barry Sanders got those ankles that turn.
Yeah.
I don't have those. But I'd like to think that mine are kind of similar because I fall all the time and I come back and what's going on, man? My hair doesn't work, but this does.
Yeah.
So I'm running and I slide. And then there's 3 red rock clefts. And I fall and I'm laying on the middle one. And I'm overlooking Utah. I can basically probably see Salt Lake. I could with Kanab and whatever city, and I'm looking over all these mountains and all the red rock, and I'm hanging there. And I'm just gonna be. You tell me you go right for it. So here's the truth. I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling it. And remember, the topography changes, so it's brittle. And I'm up there, top of a mountain, and I push down on it. I don't know why I did that. I don't want to fall. Kidding me? I'm still hungry. I want to go eat.
Yeah.
I push down on it, and nothing happens. But I'm starting to see, and I'm hearing it now. You hear the mechanism, you hear the dust.
Yeah.
And instead of pulling back, I extended forward, and a tear, sweat from my head, and I just watched it drop. Then reality set in, Colin, you probably move.
Back up, yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
I said, God, man, same thing I said to my mom when I was driving. I know she heard me. I love you from my soul. But you'd said something once. I said, I know God loves me. I just don't think he liked me.
Yeah.
I said, man, maybe this plan's wrong. But I'm starting to pray. Maybe I, right? Yeah, pretty much. I said, but, and anyone who's listening to this and you've been there, please hear this. I said, if it's going to be a struggle, this is what I do. I give everything I have, and it's always going to be a struggle, and someone's always going to chime in and tell me why I'm wrong and not even listen.
Yeah.
When I have something. God has something. He put it in me.
Yes.
So I said, if it's going to be this struggle forever, let the cleft fall. And I pushed, and nothing. It just wasn't. And when I realized it wasn't going to happen, scoot back as fast as I could. And I flew, man. I ran. I was light. I was so light. It was the best. And then I ran into him.
Wow.
You're on the right path. So I went back and I was hiding in the desert for about a year and tanked a movie back in my hometown. Got there to film. It's the follow-up to The Officiant. It's a feature film, and it's a woman's journey, and it's remarkable. And we had the money. We got there. We lost it. Everything tanked. So I'm in my hometown and had to find a way back out and let everybody down. Broke my heart. So that I had a heart. My heart was broken. Mom, Dad died, days go on. Mom dies, days go on. The church itself that they pastored together crumbled. I got a brick in the mail when I was in Hollywood. And my friend, church secretary, my friend Mark, just sent me this brick and said, church fell.
Wow.
Something about that.
Wait, it physically fell?
Flat roof in Illinois, can't do it.
Wow.
Rain. So there's something about that. And it drove me back there. Fortunately, we lost all the money. I had no way to drive myself back out. So I ran a 51-mile run through the snow. Dad died when he was 51. We started at the church. I ran 51 miles as the officiant. I'm the chaplain. Dad was the preacher. I went off, became a chaplain on accident, but I'll take it. And so then I'm going to run this 51 miles, snow run 51, 2 below, 16-mile-an-hour winds. It's going to be 25 hours to run that sucker. The whole town came out. The mayor gave the thing. It was the best. The mayor was my principal growing up in high school. It was so freaking sweet, man. And we ran this thing. We had all these sponsorships from that running movie. They never came through. So we were going to get the money, and it didn't happen. But I was able to buy a Jeep off my dad's friend and drive back to Hollywood, where I hid in the desert for a year. Actually, I went out, toward Lancaster. Don't recommend it. Sorry, Lancasters.
I'm not sorry. If you live in Lancaster, at this point. Yeah, I've been to Lancaster too. I actually had a guy who was on one of my shows, one of my television shows. He lived in Lancaster. I was like, why? Yeah. Absolutely why.
Remind me to tell you about the time like that Jeep got stolen and I was stranded with nothing.
In Lancaster?
Oh, yeah. And God provided a miracle. It was unbelievable. There's a bunch of those. We'll get back to the Officiant.
Yeah.
So I go run this thing and it's chaplain and I had all the support, but it just wasn't working. So then I'm like, I'm going to go hide in the desert. I just got cold. I thought I was going to lose my fingers and my leg running that thing. I forgot my name for part of the time. I hadn't been cold in 2 decades, man. I went to Walmart, about $6 Walmart. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm physically healing. from the frigid, from everything. And I'm hiding in the desert, living on the floor of my buddy's old house out there, and just detoxing the dragon, man, the pain and all the hurt. It's just like, okay, man, 20 years. Come on, man. Like, I'm fighting for this. Like, you know, you're and it's not about you. And you realize that, like, man, so God, do you not like the plan? Did I do this and not you? And I said, Colin, you're still chaplain, man. You're still pastor and made you to be. You're still my child, and I love you. And I started trying to remember that. Because it's been through so much pain. Artists don't have it easy. I'm not calling myself that. I'm saying artists, because everyone hurts and everyone feels.
Yeah.
That right brain world, man, they take it to a whole other level.
A whole nother level.
And if you're seeing visions and having creations and stuff, man, it compiles it. Man, it hurt. So one day, it just snapped. So I'm tired of hurting. Okay, God, you didn't let me fall off that thing. You provided a crazy, weird doppelganger up in the middle of the mountains. Pretty cool, by the way. All right, what do you got? And it was gratefulness. I hit my knees. Oh, I felt so good to be back there, man. And God, I am so grateful. I had that Jeep. It got stolen, but I got it back. And then I was like, I got ants on this wall, but that's protein. I'm hungry. Let's do it. Come on. Heaven and nature singing, baby. And I was like, God, I'm just grateful. 2 days later, and then the next day I got up and I wrote on this little note card and I drew out this little cottage. I got to get out of here. God, I need to go be away from Hollywood, away from the desert. And I just got to go write and create, you know? And so I drew this little cottage with a Jeep on top of a mountain, a hammock and chickens. I didn't know what I was doing. And the next day I got an email. Hey, remember that thing you got screwed on 12 years ago or 10 years ago? It was 12 grand. Like, okay, cool. Got the check. Miracle. Let's go. Publisher helped me find this place. I get to this little cottage and I see the landowner and I said, I drew this. Wow. There's like hammock. I don't even know what a hammock is. Can I fit in? You're going to shoot me up? You know, like chickens, all those things. I'm like, okay, so I'm where I'm supposed to be. And that wraps up with me saying that the book has started taking off. The Officiant, I pulled it off from being made. Oh, I'm going to take great joy in this part. From the faith-basters. Hi, guys. Faith-based means faith-based. Stop preaching to the choir. Stop hurting people, guys. Come on. Be love. Use your art for love. My little PSA to my peoples. I'm a Christian, so you know what? I bet you like this. When I meet a Christian and they're kind of being wonky, I'm like, so you got Christ, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, good, man. Good. So you're saved? You got eternity? Yeah. Oh, good. Then I have to deal with the rest of your crap. Just,
hopefully this person doesn't like, hopefully when I see you in heaven you learn how to be this guy,
or just stay over there.
Just stay here.
It all just comes back to don't hurt people, man. So I'm giving everything I got and it's not working, and God starts making it happen. And then the Officiant just keeps coming back and back. So we started filming. We tried filming during COVID. So we take the TV show. And did you do any filming during COVID?
We actually finished because we had 6 months. We had 6 episodes, and we shot the last scene 1 week before the shutdown, and we had no idea the shutdown was coming. So we finished, but then we had a situation happened where one of our hard drives went out when we went to edit, and we couldn't get what was it, 15% of our footage back. It was like we couldn't get 15%, so we had to do reshoots in COVID. So we did reshoots, which was interesting. Yeah.
Paying more money.
Yes.
For the COVID people to be there.
Yeah.
They're just your friends you're hiring because they just
yeah. And we're doing everything to be legit. Like
no first AD.
Like Bryce is at my house the day before, but the next day I have to like do the temperature check on them. Like, I know we're good. But yeah, we had to do all that stuff. And then I think we actually had a COVID outbreak on one of the reshoots. So a kid came in. He was like, I think I'm fine. I was like, no, you can't think you're fine. We gotta go. We shut it down, but he was there long enough to infect everybody, and everyone got it.
Everyone forgive him.
Yeah, we all forgave him. Well, I because it was just me and him that knew that he had it, so I didn't tell everybody else that he had it. I just said I sent a blanket text while people were in the building, like, hey, get out of the building. There's a COVID scare. Go home. And I didn't tell him who was the one that had it, but he had already. I was the last person he greeted. But by that time, he had already hugged people. He was like, "It's just a cold." I said, "No, there's no cold in 2020."
Yeah.
So, and it was COVID, and I think we had like 4 other people catch it from him. I think me too. I think I got it from him. So I was safe until that moment.
Yes. No, fortunately, we got through it unscathed. Interesting thing happened on the set. So we start filming, and it's a ground up thing, and I pulled it from the other production companies, even though they were obviously legit, and we're talking about broadcast TV and stuff. But so then I'm still broke. I'm up in this cottage trying to make things work.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that was interesting is I had taken, because I only had 5. When I left Hollywood, I gave everything I had away, and I had, which is so much fun, by the way. You get a chance to do that. When you just take something, and you think, oh, who's this going to go to?
Mm-hmm.
And then you walk up, they have no idea what's going on. But there's something they can see. They're like, oh, this guy's going to give me a gift. This is really neat. And they start lighting up. I got this for you. But I'd done that with everything I had, right? Except 5 boxes. And I went around from Fresno to Illinois and picked up to Hollywood, picked up these boxes, opened them up when I got to this cottage. And there's mom and dad's Bibles. Like, oh, that's so cool. Some pictures. And then just 5 boxes of notes, scripts, just printed off scripts, handwritten scripts. Started writing these things 30 years ago. It's the first time I stepped out in the snow in Illinois, and I saw a character walking through those trees. I remember the bright orange light, snow was just so perfect coming in between this line of trees, and then this character came walking over with his hair and just looking at me, and his tongue was a little snake back too. Okay, so that character's gonna die quick because I don't want to deal with that, and he didn't. The good guy died right away. And I wrote that. I said, well, I'm not a cryptic writer. Why would I write that? In the snow, that's pretty. Well, thank God it was creepy. I didn't see him, but I saw him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wait a minute. You don't have to follow any rules.
Yeah.
These are your stories. There are people praying for you, for your creation. Even though I started losing my hair when I was 12. I was 310 pounds and bald when I was 12.
What?
I kept that my whole life, praise God, because I'm a hopeful romantic. And I would have been married 1,000 times by the time I was 13. So God kept me from that. And you get to Hollywood, none of you will ever make it. And so I'm like, instead of, oh no. Because I looked around and 60 of them quit that moment.
Wow.
6 months, a year to leave. There was 4 or 5 of us ruffians, but there were people praying over these creations. So I had a confidence in that. And I also knew that God had protected me from myself. And so when I got to Hollywood and it got rejected, it was like, try getting pointed at and laughed, at prom, that kind of thing. That's, And so that kind of pain you carry with it. And then you wonder, you're like, how can I go through life working so hard for a goal that ultimately doesn't have anything to do with me? And nothing ever comes of it. And you're so close 1,000 times, but it's what you're supposed to do. It just keeps going back to the roots. All right, well, why am I doing this? Those 62 people, they all had a reason, but none of them had the father I had that would come into the school, pull me, poke his head in, when you could still do that, poke his head in. That meant Colin Bird was leaving for the day. 12, obese, bald kid in his little chair, and I get up, and I think everyone was laughing at me because could barely get out of there, and it's my hair, and you could see it, and it's running to my dad. But that meant that we were driving from that little town in Illinois, had to cross the border into Terre Haute, Indiana, and my dad was taking me to a movie.
That's cool.
Get me out of that. So we would talk about the movie all the way there. Like, oh my gosh, this is the story we're going to get into. This is so cool. And on the way home, we talk about girls. And I realized it was going to be a very long time for me before anything with that obesity and the bald thing, just tumbleweed falling in front of me. But he was so peaceful, and it's like, but he correlated those two, love with purpose.
Yeah.
When Colin, he'd say, you're not just a writer. He'd say, Christ is my hero. And Christ was the ultimate conservationalist with his words. You're not just a writer. He would say, this is definitely left up to doubt, but he would say, you're a great writer. So choose your words carefully. Never give a compliment that's not 100% genuine, and choose your adjectives carefully. And we would talk about these things because he would say, the way you want to talk to this girl, you want to pour all your love. There's a whole bunch of characters that I've seen you write. And everyone around the world will relate to some of them. You can help them heal. Yeah. Even when you're hurting, little, Jamie didn't say yes or whatever. And yeah, that's a big deal. You're gonna hurt, and that could be lasting. But if you take that hurt and you put it into a character and you bring healing, or at least reason, and you give audiences around the world a reason to have hope and peace, and that's a pretty neat thing. So we would be driving there, driving back, whenever it would come up, and the story would affect me, because what would happen is we'd walk into the theater, we'd sit down, and I was just nervous because of the hair. We're on a slope, everyone can see, right? And I could barely finish it. But once the light went out, oh, come on, when the light went out, and then the big light, the important one, came on.
Yeah.
Right to the screen. I call it the light at the front of the tunnel. When that came on, and you see all the little dusty things floating around, you're in heaven, because there you are. You're safe. No one cares. So we'd be driving home, and I'd say, Dad, they make movies in Hollywood, right? Yes, sir. That's where I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to study acting. I got to study writing. I got to study producing, to the extent anyone can study producing. I got to study all that jazz so that I can write the best possible stories to help other people forget their fat ball problems and bring people together. And that's what this whole thing has been. So don't get in the way of that, because ultimately, with The Officiant and then this other movie that I was mentioning, that deals with slavery. Yeah. And that unbelievable pain as we enter into a new world where, same beast, same tricks, some new ones, but the same thing. It's trying to oppress people and cause conflict with everyone. So we're going to write these stories. It starts with The Officiant. The Officiant is the first of all of these movies that we're talking about, all these TV shows that we can do together. But it's the first one because it introduces the spirit coming in the final 20 years of the world. Yeah. And all these movies take place from 1980, Thanksgiving Eve, 1980, to August 16th, 2040. And there's a whole bunch of movies and TV shows in there, and they're all really neat. You should ask me about it sometime. Yeah. But the main one we're starting with is The Officiant. Man, this one hits it hard, because what happens is it's the last 20 years, and God's not messing around. And neither Satan. So in the last 20 years, some of these things that we read about in the Bible, or you see on TV or whatever, start to become real. Yeah. The tortures, the scary things. And we see it. It's interesting. We're seeing, what's happening around the world, mirroring these stories about people being condemned, compressed. Yeah. Just the injustice of it. And so this story tackles the heart of that issue. Leave people alone. Edify them, man. Yeah. And stick up for people. Yes. And then, so you look up. You want to be in pain. You want to be upset. You want to be in conflict. Look up. And then aim higher. Yeah. When you aim higher, you see that there's even more than what's going on in this little old world. We're just running around in circles in our own pain, trying to control our fall because we're in pain, and that pain is the only thing we know. That becomes our identity. So, God, I can't give you that because I need to hold on to this because it's the only thing I know, and it ruins the art. And The Officiant sees that. So this character goes in and he kicks down those doors, and he's there for people, and the whole TV series. I guess the B storyline is the administration. Those things that I saw that happen in real time when it talks about real money and real companies, and the way that people are just overlooked as numbers. It's a real thing. Patch Adams wasn't joking around when he said, "What's her name? This is patient 34. What's her name?" Yeah. And so that's the heart, and that's something that everyone, man, when we get this up on your platform and the whole world starts seeing it, everybody's going to understand what it's like to lose someone, and a lot of people are going to understand what it's like to have to let someone go and watch them slowly slip into that, and that is a painful journey.
Yes, we actually have the trailer, right, Rice?
Yes,
we have a trailer of the Officiant. So take a look at the screen right now. We're going to play the trailer. This is one of the trailers from the project that he's talking about. Go for it, Rice.
Each day that you're still breathing, you use those breaths to pray positive prayers for other people in these halls and for your family in your home. And that is this deal. Deal?
Yes.
This place is made out of brick, not hope.
What's the matter with you? What happened to make you hurt so bad?
You can't save me, Chaplain. Just like you couldn't save Sean.
Your job is what I tell you it is.
Listen, we need you being careful.
It's okay. I got my father's heart.
I'm at peace. Are you?
Listen, So you're sparking some things in me as you're talking, and you can't help but listen to your testimony and think, man, and look inwardly, like look into your own life. Like I look into my life and I'm like, why am I here? Like, why am I doing things? And you said so many things that kind of like registered with my soul. One of the things that you shared, and I feel like this is the whole thing with Heritage Park, because there's a lot of connections there, a lot of parallels. One thing is Heritage Park was originally just music. I just wanted to rap. I just give me the mic and let me rap. And I just rapped and I wanted my homies to rap with me. So Heritage Park wasn't called Heritage Park at the very beginning. It was called GTG, Glory to Glory. And we were just a rap crew just going everywhere. And after a while, I started realizing I have so many stories to tell people. And so I wanted to go into different mediums. So I wanted to do not just rap. I want to do stories. I want to do theater. I wanted to do plays. I wanted to do film. I was like, well, we got to do more than that. Then we have to expand. And so Glory to Glory ended up, I was like, Glory to Glory is too churchy. We need something that just means something. And I've never in my life wanted to do things by myself. Yeah. I've always wanted people with me. I just enjoy having people I love with me. You know, yeah, I love it. So even when I was rapping, I in my mind, if somebody in the labor wins, we all win. Like if Kevin Davis is one of the artists in my, if Kevin, we're celebrating him this year. Like this year, we released a record, and I had a game plan. I was like, dude, we're gonna make this thing huge. And so we worked the game plan. This dude released the album earlier this year, and it ended up number 3 on the charts, Christian charts. And that was huge because I've never produced anybody that charted on the Christian charts and like iTunes charts. And I'm sitting there thinking, we won. Yeah. I wasn't even on that record, which Kevin, I'm still sour. You wouldn't put me on your record. I'm the producer. But anyways, come on, Kevin. He's on every one of my albums, but I'm not on any of his. Yeah, we all have a Kevin. Yeah, we all have a Kevin. So, sorry, but at the end of the day, and he's gonna say something too. I know it. He's gonna say something at this podcast. But at the end of the day, I just enjoy doing life with people that I love, and I love doing life with Rice and Heidi and all the people that work with Heritage Park. I love doing life with them. And then I'm like, yeah, let's go eat. Yes. And oh yeah, we need to make a movie too. So that's Heritage Park has always been based on that. And the other side of it is when that happened, I learned how to make music. I learned how to produce music. And I remember the year was 97. And the Holy Spirit told me pay attention to technology because it's going to level the playing field and you'll be able to compete in music. And I was like, really? Okay. So I started learning it. And then when I started realizing it's time to transition, God said the same thing about the art, about film. He was like, I'm leveling the playing field. You're going to get a shot and you're going to have to compete. You're going to get to compete against the big boys. And I was like, man, it's awesome. And the thing that God put on my heart is, you know why people want to fool with GBI and Heritage Park? Because we're not going to make them feel this small when they walk in the door. We're going to accept them, let them come in, and let them bring their stuff to the table. It's a dog-eat-dog business. And like you asked me earlier, I managed to stay very under the radar, and I'm like a meerkat. I pop up when somebody needs me. I'm literally like the angel on somebody's shoulder. So I can see when the grip guy is frustrated. Right. And I could be at the crafts table and just make my coffee and just look at him and be like, hey man, it's gonna be okay. And just walk off. Because you read those things. And so I think that in the industry, God is doing something unique. He's going to do something interesting. And he's using people like us to make it happen. So I say that to say there's a lot of you out there who have stories, who have scripts, who have music and you're just like, it's not about me. I gotta take this thing to the next level. this marriage between Heritage Park and GBI is just the beginning, and it's the beginning, and it's also the footsteps. We're making the footsteps out.
Like that.
You know, so at the end of this is going to be interesting because we'll come back in the end of Thanksgiving. We'll see where the Officiant has gone and where HPTV has gone and where GBI has gone in the last 12 months. We'll be able to look back and be like, remember we said this, and we will leave footsteps so other people can follow. I definitely see that because somebody's got to be a trailblazer and not get eaten up by this industry monster that eats so many people up. One of the things that, and we don't have to talk about the strike in detail, but one of the things that bothered me about the strike is just where filming has gone in its own way. Like, I'm a fan of storytelling. Like, gotta give me a good story. And I noticed a lot of and remember there was times where you had a good indie project, you were able to pitch it to somebody, to an exec, and they were like, I don't know, but we'll give you 300,000 to see what you can do.
You had to call them on the rotary.
Yeah. And, like, I'm not so sure. What is this movie called? Good Will Hunting. Okay, I'll give you 500,000 to see if you can do that. Because how the industry used to be was half the movies that were going into the theaters weren't making the money back for their studios, but they would make their money back in DVDs and all that other stuff. Like Scott Pilgrim. I mentioned Scott Pilgrim. I was in that realm. Like, I was like, I should have been on that crew, So I followed what their money did, and after they didn't do a lot in the theater because they didn't push a lot in the theater. But I knew when I watched it, I was like, this movie's a hit. This is a cult hit, and the following that came from this movie in DVD sales was astronomical. This movie made 3 times as production budget in DVDs. And I know when streaming has hit the place, now studios are afraid to put money behind unique stories, unique individuals, because they know they can't get their money back because of streaming, which caused that's one of the rifts in the strike. I was reading it closely. I say all that to say there's a lot of Rohmons and Collins out there with stories that now, listen, if you take your story, if you even get into Warner Brothers or Paramount, I'm not saying not to do it, but they'll shelf you for like 10 years, 14. They'll shelf you for 14 years, especially if it's faith-based. The best shot you got is Sony. That's the best shot if you got a faith-based project, Sony, but they may shelf you for 14 years. Can you imagine? That's tough. So we're creating something unique and reverent here, that not only that, we can help you figure out how to get it to yourself, because now the Holy Spirit's in the works to say, listen, you went through the battle. Now get up and you do it yourself. Just like we do with music now. Now we can do it on this end. It's time. And I think, and let me submit this to you. Everything worked out in God's timing. Now I'm one of those people that I don't know how to explain this. A lot of Christians say, well, it wasn't in God's will. There's a deeper thing before we go to God's will. I think that God allows a lot of things to happen for a purpose. And I know that I see things in pictures, right? So here's another picture. iRobot. Do you remember the Will Smith iRobot movie?
First 3 quarters and the last of it.
Okay, so the last of it was the important part. So
So
the robot. Okay, yeah, it's a great movie.
Alan Dicer.
The robot at the end that was created and to kind of think for itself, at the end of the movie, he goes, he's got to get to Vicky, which is the ultimate computer, but she's protected by nanobites. And he goes, now I understand why my dad, which he called the guy who created him, he calls him dad, or my father. He goes, now I understand why my father gave me this super alloy skin and he made me tougher, because my purpose in life is to kill this supercomputer. And he's able to put his hand into the thing without getting hurt, because it would have killed everybody else. And so sometimes people go, man, I just have a rough life, and what's happening? No, that's building blocks. That you're in the middle of structure, and I think to be the trailblazer, we have to take the hits for people.
Good. Who cares? Let's
Who
go.
cares? Because he knows we can take it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you got to go through that training ground. You got to go through that.
You gotta
hell on
go through
earth,
it.
man.
Yeah. So we can build something different for everyone else.
Because it's not about us.
It's not about us.
When you go through that kind of pain and you're following a purpose and you're being hit, you're going through pain because of that purpose.
Yeah.
And you go through that door anyway.
Mhm.
And that people come to GBI, come to HP, guys.
Yeah.
Give us a minute. But I mean, come and
Yeah.
bring
But let's put it together.
That's why we're gonna do this. But come with us, because there will be that. We'll open our arms to you. We'll be Dan Bird and say, hey, come on in. Let me tell me all about your creations. Be my mom, Elaine Bird, say, I'm gonna fight for you. I'm
Yes.
gonna flamethrower and
Yes.
take them down for you.
I brought this up when we were talking. We were talking about Caleb. Remember we were talking about Caleb? I'm gonna bring it up again because I know why God gave me this revelation. So we were talking about scriptures that I was having a hard time dealing with, and I told people at church, and I even mentioned it here about the Canaanite woman who asked the Lord for a blessing, and he said, do I take the food off the master's table and give it to the dogs? And she said, even the dogs eat the crumbs that come from the edge of the table. And so God, I always had a problem with that scripture. When I was telling us before the show, I was talking about this, but then I remember I did a study on Caleb and found out Caleb was a non-Hebrew walking with the children of Israel to find the promised land. And Caleb, if you recall, Caleb and Joshua were the two spies that came back and said, hey, we could take it. I know there's giants there, but that's ours. God said it's ours. Caleb comes from the word dog. They called him dog because he was non-Hebrew. And because of that, when he finally got his mountain, the mountain was on the edge, so he wasn't allowed into the vicinity of the promised land. He lived on the edge. And so when the Canaanite woman said that to Jesus, I always see Jesus when he says that, and he just kind of looks her off. And she says, but even the dogs eat the food that come off the edge of the master's table. I can see him smirk. In my mind, I see Jesus go like this. That's my girl right there.
Yeah, man.
And I always thought to myself, what a harsh thing to say to somebody. But then God showed me this morning, which is relevant to what we're talking about today. I spoke to her because she can take it. She's got a purpose that other people would crumble under that statement. But because of her faith, and people don't, man, I don't want to preach. This is epic thoughts. But listen, if you notice, most of the time when Jesus healed somebody, he'd always say, your faith made you well. Your faith did that. Your faith made you well. It's clear and present that Jesus, like, he's making examples. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna heal you, but you need to know that your faith did move me. Your faith did that. Because he always says, your faith made you well. Like, and you think about the ends that people have gone to get God to bless them. Like the people who had this homie and they couldn't get to Jesus, so they go on the roof and cut a hole in the roof. Can you imagine your friend be like, "Yo, we're gonna cut this hole in this roof and we're gonna drop you in there." And Jesus was like, all your faith, all you and your friend's faith is gonna. But that Canaan woman, she had to go through a lot to know. She knew. First of all, she was Canaanite, so she wasn't Jewish. She wasn't from that. She wasn't that culture. So technically, Jesus wasn't her God, but she knew who Jesus was. And because of all things she's gone through in life, Jesus was like, "I'm gonna set you up more than you know," and blessed her more than she experienced, more than she even expected, more so. So yeah, some of you get punched in the face a lot. Yes, because you're the one. You're starting something new that no one else has done. We've had to go through a lot of stuff to get to this point, and we're here and we're doing a great thing. And I want to share with the crowd and the people who are following. Listen, HP and GBI is an incredible opportunity. There's going to be opportunities for you too as a follower, but I'm listening. Listen, the other thing we didn't mention today, but we mentioned on another call, I am sick and tired of people complaining about the industry and not doing anything about it. What I mean by that is I'm tired of people saying, man, Hollywood's gone so woke. And put your money where your mouth is and invest in a project that's not woke. put your money in their mouth and invest in some faith-based, something that will change the world. So we have this project, The Officiant. We're starting a campaign, guys. And I know it's the holiday season, but listen, right when the holiday season is over, and I'm talking December 26th, we're off and running. But we're going to give you the opportunity to put your money where your mouth is. I've gotten to the point this year where I've shut people up when they want to talk. Man, did you hear that such and such did this film? And it's going to be, I don't care, because unless I see a check written to a ministry to do another film, you have no room to talk. Because here's the deal. God is giving you opportunity to be part of something, and you still sit to be the consumer, then you're always going to complain about something. But be a part of something bigger than yourself. Be a part of something bigger than yourself. You know, instead of just sitting there and critiquing, because people do that. And believers, listen, my Christian brothers and sisters, the day of critiquing other brothers and sisters in Christ is over, dog. You got to stop that. That's just tacky. It's tacky. You know what I'm saying? So it's time for an opportunity. Here's a project. This is an incredible project. There's incredible names tied to this, because we didn't even get to the names that are in this project. If you watch the trailer, we'll play it again before we close, Rice. We'll play it again before we close.
Try the second one. It's got some more.
Oh, the second one we don't have.
Oh, you
We don't have that one. I should have pulled that one, but I didn't pull. I only pulled that one. But there's names on there that are connected to this project. This is a big, big deal. And you know, I know you guys. I know you guys well enough to know that you support things that you believe in, right? Because you support Heritage Park. Dang, you support me. So I'm submitting to you and everybody that can hear me. This next year, 2024, I don't want to be part of the masses. I want to be part of the movement. There is a difference. And I believe that God wants you to stop being in the mass and be in the movement. Because the masses is just a crowd of cows. They just go wherever we tell them to go. And that's what we've gotten to now. People just believe what we want them to believe. Now you get to be part of something bigger than yourself. And you've asked for this. You've asked for this opportunity. I believe it. I believe people have asked for these opportunities. Like, I want to be something greater. Okay, then stop being the mass. Be the movement.
Come right at them and show them. It's interesting, Billy Graham talked about every 20 years. It's like the Spirit sweeps the nation. He probably has read every mathematical journal. Yeah, he says every 20 years, and that's what The Officiant starts with.
Mm-hmm.
So you got all these other movies and TV shows that go with it, and all the characters connect, and they go to their different places. And even those storylines always match a humanitarian branch that the company GBI provides. So for instance, someone in The Officiant episode 2, he works in clean water. He's got to go to Flint, Michigan, because the atrocity, there's an evil that's happening with what's happened in Flint, Michigan, making these people. A lot of people don't understand. $1.10. We've spent our life knowing that coming up with $1.10 to buy a bottle of water sometimes is not possible.
Yeah.
You got a mom who doesn't have $1.10 to get a bottle of water
of clean
for
water.
Her child,
Yeah.
knowing, Mommy, I'm thirsty. They're going to turn the water on, knowing that it could kill their child, but the child needs to drink. And there's an evil. So this, and that's just part of the story. That's just one of the residents' sons of that. But that connects to branch B of GBI, which is clean water. Excuse me. Branch D, my dad's branch, Danberg branch, living water. And so when these things hit the market, then those companies open up, and we start working with clean water in Flint, Michigan. We start working in all these different places, even in Illinois, back where we're filming. And so there's that connection where how everything connects in a bigger scale, but just to keep it streamlined, The Officiant opens the door for all of that, but it does so much more, because what it does is it has that thing you're talking about. People want to be part of a movement. You want to be a part of something. That's what this is. It literally shows the last 20 years, and this character is just standing there, and then the Spirit comes on, comes in, and it ushers in the last 20 years. God has given more jurisdiction. He's showing people what I saw 20 years ago in a nursing home. 20 years later, you call, and now the movement begins. What you just said is right on, man.
Yeah.
People want that movement. It's starting, and we start with The Officiant. You see that opening moment, and you can see it in the trailer on the GBI 60 website, gbi60.com. And there's at the very top, there's that little trailer. I think we're going to show that. It's a snow cabin. Click on that, and that shows what we're doing with The Officiant. Is we filmed during COVID, and we got that heart story. We got all those things that really matter that people deal with every single second. What we didn't get to film due to COVID restrictions was the supernatural aspect. There's a little bit of it in there, but what that trailer at the top of the GBI 60 website shows is when they invest in this, and when we start building this, HP and GBI start building it, this is what you're really going to see. You got the heart condition, the thing that everybody understands and every single person's going to go through and probably already has. But then look around and say, hey, there's another thing. There's a bigger thing. Look up, aim higher. And that's all there. And this first episode shows the beginning of that. And then you go into all the other movies and things, and it just becomes commonplace. But right now, it's starting the movement. And it was 20 years of having 60 movies and TV shows, and no one wanted to hear about any of it. No, just do one. Just do the cookie cutter. Just do. And then the Colin, go do the faith-based thing. I was at a studio when I first heard those words. Colin, faith. I was sitting in a cubicle.
No.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
You're in a studio. Orson Welles says the greatest toy any boy has ever been given is a studio.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, the studio. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, you know my heroes, and I'm like, and then but I'm not, because I'm sitting in a cubicle for 9 hours. Like, I can't. How do I get out there? You know. And there was so much of a metaphor of that. I wanted to go start a movement, and I'm trapped in these little tiny walls in a bigger wall situation. Like, okay, GBI is going to get through and break through all of that and let these audiences have the greatest toy in the world, which is using their art. And hopefully they'll hear your message, Rohmon. They'll hear this message from GBI. If it's about you, it will fail ultimately. You can't. If you're an artist, you have so much to give. Don't make it about you. Use the hurt. Use that. I'm looking like they're standing right here. I'm like talking to them.
That's okay. That's all right.
But this is what the Officiant does. It starts a movement, not just cinematically, and what the story, what's really going on around us.
Yes.
If you believe a single word of the living word, and again, you and I think one of the reasons we dig each other so much, because we're pastor hearts. We're not preachers. We're not telling people what to do.
No.
And no one will tell you what to do in our stories.
No.
But what it does is it shows you what we believe. So if you believe one word of the scripture, it's a big jar of honey, right? And if you believe this part, you say, well, wait a minute. I don't like that part. Let me just poke a little hole in that, and the whole thing in peace. Hot air balloon, the whole thing deflates, right? And this one says very, very clearly, angels and demons around us all the time. That's what if you believe in anything in there, you believe that that's happening. And we are now, 2024, December 26th, right before, we're going to start showing what's really going on around people. We need the investment and all those things. And God is providing that. We're seeing the miracles happen 20 years at a time. And now we start our new 20 years.
Listen, it's happening, and you have an opportunity to be part of it. My homegirl, Nadia, is in the building, and I know she's like staying off screen, and I'm not going to embarrass her, but I am. The only reason I'm the way I am is because I have great people around me. I'm just being honest with you. And Nadia is an incredible person, and I know she has bullet points. And I'm just going to look at you, and you just nod, or whichever way. Did I hit the bullet points that we were going for? Am I missing anything? Okay, she said we're good. All right, because I want to make sure.
I mentioned that Nadia was a producer on The Officiant. That's how this whole thing got set up.
Is that real?
Yeah, we met her.
Look at you, Nadia.
Came in and kicked some serious butt.
Listen, she's covering her face like there's a camera right on her. But we gotta give you your flowers, man. Nadia I think I've told like hundreds of people about you already, because Nadia has been a lifesaver just in her energy and just her believing in. I'll say something and she, instead of saying, I don't know about that, she was like, so when do we get that done? I can't do your accent yet. I've tried.
She's not even laughing out loud. You sure? They got her?
The time she's telling me She's telling me to cut it off. But because I'm talking about her, that's why. But
no, she set it up though. I'm
yeah,
give that pitch.
She did set this meeting up, and so she's incredible, and she's a godsend, absolutely 100%. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you very much. Gotta give her a flower.
We hit The Officiant. Nadia was the one who said, "Look, there's power in this, and people are responding. You gotta get it." I kept it because it was just one more. I gave everything I have a specific vision. You got half of it. It's not all there, and then you presented this perfect format where we can show what we have and show the reality of what people are actually going to deal with. And then invest in this thing and not have the trailer show you what we can do.
Yes.
And we have the supernatural stuff. And it was her that said, hey, I know you want that. And I know you've been hurt. Man, there's people out there who are hurting. Put that thing out there.
Yeah.
And but again, still hit it from everything.
Yes.
So you can walk.
Yeah. And I'll say this and then we'll close. There's another story in the Bible that Nadi reminds me of. It's the story of Joseph when he's in the prison and he's in there with the baker. Remember the baker and the butler? They call him something else in the scripture, but basically he's a butler. And they're in prison too. And they both had dreams, and he tells them he tells them what their dreams mean. And the baker ends up dying because he tells him in the jail, oh yeah, that dream means you're dying. And just breaks it down. And then Pharaoh has a dream and he couldn't understand what the dream meant. And then the butler goes, you know what? There's somebody in your jail who interprets dreams. Nadia is a butler. She opens doors, right. And she goes, I know how to connect that to this and make that happen. And you need one of those. You need a Nadia in your life because they'll be able to see your puzzle and they'll put it together for you. So I'm just sharing that with you. So listen, December 26th, we're starting this launch and we're going hard. Actually January 5th, the first episode will be on HPTV. Oh, January 2nd. I was right, January 2nd. January 2nd, the first episode will be on. December 26th, our campaign starts. So you'll see also on HPTV a call to action video. They'll be there. They'll also have a QR code on it. I want you to click that QR code and I want you to be part of this. Listen, we're going to make this whether you're a part of it or not. And this is probably one of the last moments. I'm just speaking out of prophetic for some people. This may be, you've been asking God for this moment for a long time. This may be your last moment to be part of something because God is moving. So December 26th, the campaign starts to raise money, and then you'll start to see the episodes. We got 5, and they'll be every Tuesday on the featured spotlight. And then the GBI and the Officiant will have its own sub channel also as well. So you'll be easily able to access it. And then on top of that, with each episode, there's a Bible study. There's a Bible series with each episode. So it's great for your small groups, your Bible studies, and all that kind of stuff. So all that information will be on HPTV. And the QR codes also for the downloads will be on that too. Now listen to me carefully. Share, get the word out. Because once you get involved and you start being part of this project, you're part of this project too. So push that stuff. Share, comment, like, do whatever it is you do. Okay? Because next year we've already started 2024. People like to be like, when 2024 starts. No, dog. We started a month ago. And even me, I even took my big behind back to the gym. I hate the gym, hate it, but I went back. So because we're preparing, God is prepping us now for what's to come. So get a part of this movement. It's going to be something that you've never seen before. And I'm playing it out in my head, but I heard the Holy Spirit kind of say something to me while you were talking. I want you to get rid of the faith-based moniker. We're going to make films.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to make films. Listen, Hollywood made a movie about Noah, sucked balls, but they made it.
Directed by an atheist.
Directed by an atheist. You know what I'm saying? Mother made a movie about a narcissistic God, but they took it from the Bible, like straight out from the Bible. There's not faith-based films, but they're films, and they sure did talk about it.
You know, they hit me with I know we're going to wrap up. They hit me with the faith base because Trevor's trying to find the box for everybody.
Yes, they're trying to knock, yeah.
And I was just like, okay, well, what is this? And they started naming off all these actors that were actually Christians who were going to be in this. It's like, okay, that's cool. Sounds like the start of a movement. And then immediately I went and parked myself outside. They built this giant, I was in Studio City, this giant building. It was going to be the new faith base. So I got phone, I had to figure out how to get there. And went and parked myself out there and wouldn't leave. I made my thesis film in college. Oh, by the way, those were all set to music. When I saw how much they think sucked to wrap it all up, I was like, all right, I put music in everything I do. No words, no dialogue. It's all set to music. Let's tell the story. So I got my teeth doing that. I took those DVDs, put it under the. I was like, which one looks like the CEO's car? Like,
Yeah. That's awesome.
And it never panned out. And you and I are both the same way. Like, we'll keep down the door. We'll go until it works.
Mhm.
There's something that was saying, Colin, get away from this.
Mhm.
It became cookie cutter.
Yes.
It was actually right across the street from the largest X-rated factory in the
Oh.
world. So
Mhm.
people drive by every day. And I thought that was interesting. But regardless, man, they started going cookie cutter. I get it.
I know exactly where you are. I knew physically. I knew because I know where that's.
Oh, you know.
I know a distribution
Yeah,
center.
that building,
Yes.
the X-ray was still up. That
Yes.
building crumbled.
Oh yes. Okay. Yep.
Interesting. So, but I just remember that swampy, dark feeling of like, wait a minute. I don't care what religion or belief this is. You're telling me straight out of the gate, you're going to alienate 50% of the world, and you're okay with that?
Mhm.
And not only that, you're going to tell them that they're wrong for not believing the thing you're probably born into believing.
Mhm.
I want nothing to do with it.
Yes.
Let's take GBI and HP and let's just show what we believe and make it glorious,
Yes.
man, and full of inspiration and joy and healing.
Yes.
Let's have fun with this.
Yes. As a matter of fact, now I'm backing up a couple steps. The director of Noah is the same director of Mother.
Aronofsky?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I just realized that he did both those. Ugh. Anyways,
Right? If you're listening, Darren, nice guy.
nice
I
guy.
care about you, like good people.
Mother was actually a pretty good movie, but Noah sucked balls. Oh man. Where's the website one more time? We're gonna put the link also in the description if you're watching us on YouTube. We'll have the link in the bottom of GBI, but share the website.
GBI 60. So that's God Before I.
God before I, GBI60.com.
GBI60.com. And then Global Bird Ministry or Global Bird Industries is the actual technical name the bank's like.
Mhm.
But that bird isn't because of my last name. The bird's the Holy Spirit.
Okay, cool. And then we'll also have a link in the description for actually the link in the description is going to take you to a page to invest and support the project. So just so I'm letting you know right now, that link in YouTube, click that link and subscribe and be part of a great movement, man. Colin, thank you for coming all the way down here. We're going to make some quick videos for social media too in a minute, but thanks for coming down here and sharing your heart, man. This is not going to be the last, so this is definitely going to happen again because we could go forever. We really, really could. I had all these other things. I was like, man, we gotta come back.
I gotta tell him this story.
Yeah. So thanks for coming, man. And I'm telling you, man, stay connected. HPTV. We got some big changes coming up in the new year. So this is just part of it, but you want to be part of this, dude. This is huge, and I want you to be part of it. All right.
Blessed.
Yes.
We're gonna be praying that you continue to be blessed.
Amen. I receive it. All right. God bless you guys. Talk to you soon, and peace. We're out.